let's see. So, what will affect you in the upcoming elections? Which budget cuts or which props? Do you know? We heard that Prop 32 will affect you guys, and Prop 30.
Well, a lot of that you have to just wait and see.
Yeah.
You know, what the ramifications will be.
Because oftentimes policymakers, our elected officials can say, all right, here's the impact of general fund. That's how we operate in fire. Because we have capital funds, there's grants. The general fund is like the pool of money that particularly public safety comes from.
Yeah.
So depending on what the impact is, you know, state, county, local governments, our electeds can say, hey, okay, there's an impact in these various pools of money, but public safety is important, so we're going to keep them whole or not hit them as hard. So we just basically have to wait and figure out what that impact is and then deal with it once the city council makes a decision.
Do you think that you guys need more money from the Chico government or from just California in general? But we know that you guys aren't with Cal Fire, right?
No, we're a city of Chico.
Okay, so.
But yeah, our budget's down $1.6 million from 5 years ago. 14% less firefighters than 5 years ago. Our call volume's up 30% in that same time frame. And 5 years ago, when we ran 22 firefighters per shift, that wasn't enough. And today we run 19 per shift, and we're much busier. So clearly we do, but we also understand the Firefighters Association, the union. They understand there's been a lot of givebacks, passing up contractual wage increases, just to keep the fire department afloat and keep the city afloat.
Yeah.
So, you know, we get it, and everybody's sharing in this ridiculous economy we're in now, the best of their ability, ourselves included. But certainly, this is a seriously understaffed and underfunded fire department.
How many stations are there? Is it 6?
6.
Okay, but we heard that Station 5 is being closed?
It was closed last spring for about 6 weeks due to, they took some money out of our budget right towards the end of the fiscal year. And when we're operating on a shoestring budget to begin with, and you know, they took about $100,000 out of the budget when we're operating as tightly as we are now, there's no wiggle room. So we were forced to close that station to make up that $100,000.
And this might be a loaded question, but all the money, I mean, you need it. Do you pay for the water when you guys put out fires?
No.
Okay, so you don't have to pay for water, but you have to pay for the firefighters, you have to pay for the trucks, you have to pay for, I mean,
oh yeah,
everything.
And they don't give any of that away. I mean, a ladder truck's over $1 million.
Okay.
For an aerial ladder truck to fully equip it. A fire engine, a pumper, which is, we have 5 of those in one ladder truck. You know, a pumper is over $500,000. Now, that's a ton of money, but you look at, we generally get 15 years of service out of that, front line, up to 15 years, and another 5 in reserve status. So really, if you do the math and amortize that out over a 20-year lifespan, it's pretty good value. But they don't give them away.
Yeah, I bet. So all your money comes just from the taxes, right? Or do you guys have donations? Do you guys do any type of stuff like that?
Well, we don't have like a pancake fee or anything. But we do have a 501c3 that people donate to, but it's minuscule. I mean, it might be a couple of $1,000s a year, which out of a $13 million budget isn't a ton of money.
Right.
But every little bit helps, and that buys us little things that we could not get into the budget. But one of the things I go after are grants. We got grants for brand new self-contained breathing apparatus. The department was so underfunded that we could only spend about $30,000 a year. And the breathing apparatus with the backpack and put a mask on and breathe through. Those things cost about $5,500 each. Well, you know, we need 100 of them here to outfit our firefighters and our volunteer firefighters. That's a lot of money, and we didn't have the money to do it. So we had in our budget $30,000 a year to buy them. Well, do the math. You know, we're buying 5 or 6 a year total. Well, over the years, just think about if you bought a Toyota in 1990, that same Toyota, whether that's a Camry or whatever, by the time you get to 2010, it's a whole different car. And that's what we have. But that keeps our firefighters safe and alive. So we ended up with, even though it was all the same model, same brand of self-contained breathing apparatus, we had like 5 models and 7 different types of them.
Wow.
And that's dangerous. I mean, that's just flat out dangerous because I get used to working with, you know, if I'm working here at truck 1 at this station, and then I get called back to work, or I'm filling in for somebody at another station, I have to go into a fire and I'm using one that I'm not usually using. That's the problem. I mean, that's the clean air that we breathe so we can go inside and do our jobs. But received grants for new radios, for some training stuff that we use for our fire and life safety training, diesel fuel, computers in our vehicles that will allow dispatch to send the closest unit, gives us information as we're going to a call, as opposed to having to get into a file, which we used to do, have to look up a building and say, okay, well, if Butte Hall, what's all the tricky stuff we have to worry about if that place is on fire? Well, now it's on the computer, and it just pops right up.
Mm-hmm.
But we've been able to secure federal grants to make those big purchase items, and we will continue to pursue those because the city can't afford to fund it.
Yeah. Do you guys, we heard that you guys usually get, if someone's hurt, you guys usually get there before an ambulance will get there. Is
Sure.
that true?
Vast majority of the time.
And why do you think that is? Is it because you guys have just a quicker response time, or do you guys have more employees than they do, or?
Well, not necessarily more employees, but you know, like paramedics, when they
Mm-hmm.
started back in the 30s, or excuse me, the 60s, they started in the fire departments. I mean, the federal government, and then the state of California, then Governor Reagan, when paramedics came out, they said, put them in the fire department. Why? Because the fire department's already, our deployment model, you see, we're strategically located around the community for the fire problem. And we want to be able to get to a fire within a certain amount of travel time as quickly as possible because there's less damage, more likely that we can make a successful rescue and get the job done. Well, you put the medical calls on there, emergency medical services, just makes sense, you know, that we're going to get there quickly. And it doesn't cost much because, you know, in the state of California, we look at it costs about $1 a mile for us to go on a medical call. And here we're going 70 to 80% of the time we're getting there before the ambulance company. Like I tell people, because people, a lot of times when I started in Denver and I worked in Portland, Oregon before I came here, but people say, why are you sending a fire engine or a ladder truck? You know, why don't you, at least if you're going to go, why don't you go in a little van or something? Well, part of that is we go to a medical call, or on that medical call, say, just as we clear that medical call, a fire comes in. Our fire station's here, the medical call's here, but we took a little van instead. Now a fire comes in over here. What do we have to do? Drive back to the fire station, jump on the fire engine or ladder truck, drive right by where we were to go to the fire. It makes no sense. And for $1 a mile, you know, I look at it, it's about $5 a call for us to go, even in a big piece of equipment. And we make a difference. You know, I tell people, you know, part of this is, well, yeah, ambulances are doing that job, taking people to the hospital, but we do a lot before they get there. You know, that's opening an airway, you know, doing splinting, etc. We can shock a heart that's stopped, and at times we shock and the heart starts again. You know, people that say a fire department shouldn't go on these emergency medical service calls. You know, I like to personalize it. Say, I don't know who the most important person is in your world, but imagine who that person is. All right? Now, I want you, right now, get ready to hold your breath. All right? Take a big deep breath and hold it. Ready? 1, 2, 3, hold your breath. And don't breathe. And then as soon as you think you need to take a breath, put your hand up, okay? Like this so far. Now wait another minute. Because a lot of people say, what's a minute? What's a minute? Well, I'll tell you what a minute is. You know, in a fire, the fire grows exponentially with time when it's free burning. And on an emergency medical service call, if your heart has stopped, you're not breathing, in 4 minutes, irreversible brain damage. So what's a minute mean? That could be the difference between life or death, or your